So our first question does go to Madison. Goes to Alex. So to start off, how many of Amplify executive board members currently hold major positions within Student Government Association?
To my knowledge, it is three. That includes myself as well. And yeah, when people confuse our positions in SGA with our position as an e-board member, I know for myself, I follow by what a former senator told me, and her name is Emily Durham. She explained to me while she was on the OGA board of directors as well as in Senate, she had a system where she basically had a hat, one hat for OGA and one hat for Senate. Same as with most of the people on the e-board that are involved in other things as well. I know for myself, I have one hat for being pro tempore of the Senate, and I have one hat for being logistics chair. I do not mix the both. I do not mix both of them because they are very separate in what I do. I am a leader in the Senate, and I have to respect my position as well, and respect the positions of senators. And then I am the logistics chair, where I take care of the business of Amplify. And I know how to differentiate the differences between one organization between the other. My decisions in Senate are not based off of the decisions that I make in Senate and any e-board meeting in the Amplify movement. And I know I can speak for the other members of the board as well. We act professionally. We know how to differentiate our environments and our parts in our own lives. And as college students, we're learning to handle that as well. So yeah, I hope that addresses the question.
Okay. And next up to Madison, what is Amplify's role in the transition between administrations and their platforms?
Okay. So you guys know that Amplify Movement is a political party. We are a movement within of ourselves where we are advocating for representing students and giving them a voice here on campus. And that also includes the party aspect of our organization, which is having members of Amplify elected into their SJ positions. When it comes to transitions between positions within SGA, we are here to be a vehicle for communication between the students and these SGA members. As a political party, as Alex, kind of picking off of what Alex said, it is not in our jurisdiction to tell people how to vote or make decisions within their positions. It's our role to be a resource, proactively find ways where they can amplify students within their position. So when it comes down to transitions between actual SGA members, it's just continuing that role of communication between us and them and the students. When it comes down to, past Amplify Exec members, that is, shaping our own way to be a leader within our position on exec as well. So those kind of correlate with that. And I guess if we're talking about transitioning between the tasks that past SGA positions held and transitioning that into the current exec members or Senate members or union board, any elected official, then it is just continuing to be the resource that they need. And, talking to them, allowing them to come to us or us come to them about any ideas specifically to amplify. But kind of like what Alex said before, it is not our role as an Amplify exec board to, tell somebody how to do their position. We can be there to lean on and be on support. So I hope that kind of answers that question.
And keep in mind, everyone can be submitting follow-up questions to any of these responses if you privately message me, and we'll do our best to addressing those questions as well. And then going off that to Bambi, the Black Student Union published an open letter from faculty recommending policy points that the university should adopt in order to make FSU more anti-racist. Will Amplify commit to making FSU more anti-racist by executing these policies on the SGA level?
Okay, well, at first, Amplify is not an official SGA entity, but we do believe in these points that were made and that were made aware to our administration. And we hope that SGA is held accountable to promote these points. And we also hope that our FSU administration address these issues and implement solutions to those points.
Would anyone else like to add to that on the panel?
Yes. So we are a movement. We're here to share the voices of the people we represent, and the best way we can do that is speak to the SGA representatives. That includes myself as well, and we just would like to use our platform that way. So yes, we do commit to working towards these points that were highlighted by BSU. We hope that President Thrasher takes charge with this, and we hope that the Student Government Association also chooses to do their due diligence and work towards those points highlighted by BSU. That means holding the student body president accountable, the vice president accountable, and then all those below them, as well as the Senate itself. So we hope that we can, in the following year, that we can work towards that, especially with the collaborative effort of everyone else.
And to continue with Alex, with the current climate, how will Amplify work to continue to amplify marginalized communities at FSU?
So Amplify has always done that, at least to my knowledge. I have always felt amplified because as an LGBT student here on campus, I don't really have a community that I really feel strongly close to because the gay community is from every aspect of life. Like, to be part of the Black community, the Hispanic Latinx community. So it's very hard to get the LGBT community together. And so I think Amplify was a really great way for my voice to be heard as a gay student, because let's be real, a lot of people don't listen to me sometimes, and I like to be heard with my opinions and everything that I like to share, and I'm sure a lot of LGBT students as well do. And Amplify has never turned away anybody for having a different opinion from us. Like, yeah, I believe that answered the question.
Would anyone else like to add to that? Okay, so as a follow-up, would Amplify ever consider requiring or heavily promoting trainings to aid in the sentiment of promoting anti-racist foundations within the party, such as NCBI or Allies and Safe Zones training?
Yes, I'll go ahead and hit on that one for a little bit. So one of the internal steps that we're wanting to take as an executive board is doing more in-depth interviews for isolated candidates. So this could be asking questions, making sure that these candidates are going to these training processes and groups too, and also as well as our Amplify Exec team. So this is one of the things we're really going to start to relaunch, which is transparency and training. So it's holding our exec e-boards accountable to make sure that Amplify Exec members are getting the necessary training that they need, as well as their candidates. Because as individuals, we're all college students, everybody's learning these positions, and we all need to make sure we're taking the initiative to educate ourselves. That's something that I think everybody on this exec board can agree upon, is that there's always more room to grow, and if that's within your personal life as an advocate or as a leader, there's always more room to grow in different ways that you can educate yourself to be the best person in this position that you could be.
Thank you. And Madison, could you touch more on not only anti-racism, but preventing anti-Semitic comments as well?
Right. So I guess I could say bringing in the training as well. So if that's Green Dot, that Allies training, there's lots of different resources on campus that we make sure that, like I said before, Exec is utilizing, as well as our candidates, making sure that we're doing our due diligence as a political party to educate our candidates. So comments about anti-racist or the current situation, doesn't happen again, or that we did our due diligence to make sure that we did all the proper steps to make sure that the candidates that we place in these positions and are elected into these positions have all the necessary education and understand exactly, what it means to represent the student body. What does it mean to represent individuals of all communities? So I guess just to answer that question on how moving forward from here to make sure that such comments in the current situation is really just making sure we're doing our due diligence on training, making sure we're maintaining that communication flow between exec and elected officials, and also holding our own exec board accountable with that. We have taken steps internally. We have changed a little bit of our positions in our Amplify Exec board. Christian, for example, is now vice chair. It's just all along the way, we're going to be learning new steps that we can take to better ourselves as a movement, finding each individual's strengths and being able to put those together to work as one unit group. I hope that answered it.
And can someone clarify whether or not we'll be encouraging students to take these programs or we'll be requiring them to do this?
Right. So when it comes down to Bambi or Alex, feel free to jump in as well too. But we have been working very closely with our candidate coordinator, Jalen. So we are going to start making sure we're looking at that when we are doing interviews. We're conducting interviews and figuring out who will be taking these positions. That's going to be a very important thing that we'll be looking at. When it comes down to clarifying if it's going to be a requirement or I guess a suggestion, I think we're going to be suggesting it, but also really, really making sure that we'll be looking at that before we're conducting our slate.
Ensuring the inclusivity of Jewish students on campus, and what resources will we be using to address these concerns? Whether that be holding a dialogue about the current topic with a modest Senate president, or the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. So anything that could enhance some sort of dialogue within that community.
Right. So definitely, kind of how we mentioned before, this town hall is not the end of it. So every situation on our campus is not going to be fixed within the next hour. So it's all about starting that dialogue, creating a space for that dialogue, and then finding solutions to address what's going on. As we've stated a couple of times before this, everybody in the Amplify movement comes from so many walks of life, and within to address the situation at hand, it's going to come from, one-on-one dialogue, creating a space for us to have these conversations. And that's what Amplify is here for. We're here to be a vehicle for the students and our SJA officials. So no, yes, this isn't the last time that, conversations will need to be taking place. So, we are working internally to create proactive opportunities for us to continually address situations. Things will come up where comments will be made, anything like this. So, it's just maintaining, not brushing anything under the rug. It's, bringing things forward, starting those conversations, not, just saying, well, everyone's different, but it's really actually implementing opportunities for do this, like today, beginning with this town hall and carrying on through that, because we are here to amplify all voices. And in order to do that, we must listen as well, like we stated a little bit ago, but also bring people from each community together to have a conversation on what we need to talk about.
And I just wanted to go off Madison a little bit. Yes, we understand that communication is key to all issues and all problems, but we must take action, and we understand that we will take action. So we just ask that you all will bear with us as we have these conversations so we can get these issues out there, because a lot of people are not aware of what is actually going on, So I just ask that you all bear with us, and we will take action to hold everyone accountable that may be in light of the Amplify movement. So we just do ask that we have these open conversations and that you all express your concerns to us, and we will do our best to, address it and take action for those, not just communicating, but taking actual action.
Right. And then just kind of more of emphasizing along the lines of the diversity within Amplify as a whole. So, we have former members of and current members of NOLPAC and FSU, as well as, people from all opinions and point of views and perspectives. So it's really making sure that we come together, communicate, and then act upon those, as Bambi stated before. Just being proactive and starting these conversations, initiating them, taking notes, listening, and moving forward from there.
Okay. And moving forward, to Madison, how have the actions of the previous executive boards of the Amplify movement shaped the future of the party?
Okay, so with each organization with a board of leaders, there's a time for a transition. So that's moving from one generation of leaders to the next. I know our current exec board is a new generation of leaders. BAMI did work alongside exec this past year, but it's our goal and it's our duty to learn from people before us, but also figure out what we need to enhance or implement. Because everybody knows campaign season can be a very hectic time. It's extremely important to me in a personal goal of mine to note that if our candidates that we're each slating, every political party or any student we're trying to amplify, if we can't have the mutual respect throughout the year, how do we expect our slated candidates to be able to work together as a unit before once they're in their elected positions? So it's all about allowing this new executive board to pave the way as they are their own individual leader within their position, learning from the transition from the leader before them, but also adapting to the current situation and being able to pave the way by themselves. So, we're always extremely proud of people that come before us. This party was founded on students who are extremely passionate about making FSU a better place. So it's definitely, we need to learn and take the advice from people before us, but a strong leader, which I know everybody on this new executive board takes this advice and adapts it to how they consider themselves a leader and how to change things moving forward. Bambi was on the Amplify Exec last year, so she might be able to touch a little bit on that.
Yeah, so as I was a former member of the last executive board, I was able to see what kind of worked and what didn't work for us. And I best believe that I can use that as an advantage for this board. We can implement those things that I seen that didn't work, that may work for us to, advocate for students, amplify those voices into this current executive board. So I will use my advantage of seeing what didn't work and allow it to work for us this year. So, yeah.
And can anyone on the panel touch more on any specific goals that we might have to enter a new era of the Amplify movement?
Right. So as a new executive board from the beginning of our term, which was only a couple of short months ago, but we did have goals set in place for this upcoming year. So as we said, it's just really holding ourselves accountable. We have currently done that within our executive board, and also, really taking more time within how we run things logistically inside of the executive of Amplify Exec. So, if that includes, sorry, losing my train of thought here. Just making sure that we're holding ourselves accountable as leaders. So, as students, we need to make sure, and just citizens, we need to make sure we're holding ourselves accountable, to educate ourselves on what's going on. But as a student leader, we need to make sure that we're ready and we are able to amplify and know how to. So not only acknowledging that we need to, but knowing how to amplify voices from Alex, you may want to jump in on the logistics side of that.
Yes. Can you raise your hand, please, so I could? Yeah.
Sorry, y'all. A motorcycle went by. Do you mind repeating the question? I was focusing on that motorcycle.
So we were talking more about specific goals that the Amplify movement will take to move into this new era for the party.
All right, so we have this summer to do that. We are diligently working. Madison has us meeting every single week. We have been working on it. We are thinking of ideas. We're thinking on ideas about Pride Month. Unfortunately, it is a little bit late, but we are moving towards that because we've been a little busy with a lot of other things as well. But we definitely are working on events that we're planning virtually for the summer, as well as in the fall. We're planning for the fall election and how we can foster a stronger sense of community during this election, because I'm honestly tired of the division that we have. Like it's really ridiculous. We really need to stop bickering, stop fighting, stop sitting here arguing with one another, and start doing things we really need to do. It's exhausting hearing empty promises and stuff. But when if y'all just listen to me here, like we are working on it. We have the best interest of the student body in our hearts, and we would really like for everybody to help us along this journey, because we can't do it alone. we need the community to help us. We need everybody to work together, and respect one another. And change will come about if we collaborate and think of new ways to change the problems that are here at FSU. Because let's be real, FSU is not perfect. We are not a perfect university. We are a great university, but we are not perfect. There are things that we can fix, and I think working hand in hand together, we can do that. It doesn't make sense for us to continuously argue with one another. Nothing happens from that. So, I really hope that this is the beginning of something new. I really hope. Thank you.
And I would like to just say something, piggybacking off of Alex, just to understand one another, knowing that we are all different. No, I can definitely say every person on our executive board has some type of difference. We might not be the same skin tone. We may talk a little bit different. We all have different experiences. But we know how to work well with one another to bring about a good cause. So if you just understand one another and try to reason with one another, I believe that we can make FSU better. And I would just want to put out there, if you go on our website and find my email, the Amplify coordinator email, please bring any thoughts that you may have that we can do to better this political party, this family in FSU. Bring those to our attention, because we really want them and we want to implement those things. It may be hard to say that we are not doing everything, but we are working hard to get these things done. So just bear with us and understand one another so we can stop the fusion and we can actually get things done. Thank you.
Yeah. So like someone very wise once told me is to fix things in your own backyard before moving forward. So we definitely have been taking actions internally within our exec board, making sure we're doing our due diligence, holding each other accountable. And we just need to make sure we're going to be continually doing that moving forward, because, as exec members of Amplify, our actions will be able to reflect on those that we are leading. And it's our job to make sure that we're setting a great example, and that will flow out to the rest of the Amplify movement.
And with many things happening right now, one of them being COVID-19, how will the Amplify movement adjust in the fall and spring semesters in response to COVID-19?
So I'll kind of jump in real quick for this. Y'all feel free to jump in too, but so that's a real reality right now. We need to make sure we're allowing our students and Amplify members to stay safe and not, come together in large groups, and that, that really makes us need to step up to the plate and figure out how will we still be a resource in programming, all while maintaining safe COVID-19 rules. So, that's one thing we've definitely been thinking about over the summer, because we are away from campus. We can start utilizing those virtual events. And that is mini-series on social media, call to action mini-series week, any sort of awareness weeks on social media, bringing in speakers, having these collaborative times like this virtually. We'll be able to transcribe that over to the fall, because, at the end of the day, it's a lot of uncertainty times, being able to adapt to the situation that we're in, even if we are back on campus in the fall. When we are back on campus, making sure we're following all the guidelines to make sure that we're still able to amplify voices, but remain a safe distance apart.
Would anyone else like to add, maybe Bambi, as to how amplifiers will take a role in the fall and spring semesters with the COVID-19 situation?
For our events thus far are planned virtually. I just didn't know if we were going to be back on campus, so I can't really say exactly how we're going to go about that. But as Madison said, we just have to make sure we follow guidelines, and just put together as many events to keep everyone together. So even if it's like doing a social distancing social where we have like a certain amount of people sign up, make sure they wear masks, and just make sure we have like sanitary, sanitizer and whatever else that we need to have these events go on. I haven't really thought that deep into it, but I will work on it. And if anybody, like I said, have any suggestions, you can feel free to email me. I'm always open for suggestions and change and help.
One of our platform points was increasing awareness on Title IX. What, as an organization, have we done or will we do to educate ourselves on the recent changes and ensure that we educate the student body on the recent changes as well?
Was that directed at somebody?
I'm sorry.
Includes anyone.
I really didn't hear the question. Could you repeat it, please?
So the question is, with the current changes in Title IX, how will we as an organization ensure that we're educating ourselves on these changes, but also educating the student body on these changes?
I can just start it off a little bit. So as Madison mentioned earlier, we are doing green dot trainings, and we are going to educate our students on these issues. Madison mentioned this a little bit earlier. I'm not sure if the person who posed this question is on the call. They didn't hear her earlier. Madison, if you can go into detail again about the trainings that we're putting in place for the student body, I believe that will answer that question. And if Alex want to go off with that as well.
No, I think you answered it well. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, did you want me to talk about the trainings a little more?
Yeah, just again, because I believe you answered that question, but I'm not sure if they heard you or not.
Right. So it's really just increasing the awareness about these trainings, making sure that when people come to Amplify members, we're well educated on the resources that FSU is having. So that's making sure that within exec, we're very understanding of what's going on as well as our candidates. So I guess with the trainings, that's what I was talking about, Bambi, if that was what you were saying. That helps.
Yeah, can we go kind of more specific on actual like a plan that we would kind of put in place, or whether you're working on that internally to address the changes in Title IX, not like training and things like that, but things that we're actually going to actively do?
All right, so when the Amplify movement chooses to do things, we have to go through our executive board. We don't do anything by one person saying one thing. So with these changes comes a discussion with us. We have to discuss what we're going to do next, where the Amplify movement is going to position itself, how we are going to decide what we do with the changes that have occurred or will occur in the future. Who knows? We're always advocating on behalf of each other. So it really comes down to what we're going to do this summer. This summer is all about us planning and discussing for what we can do. So honestly, right now, I can't give you a final answer as to what we are going to do, but I can assure you that the executive board will be handling anything dealing with this in the future, because now that we've heard that it is an important issue that everybody wants us to focus on, that's what we will do. That's why we're here. We're here to listen. We're here to understand where your heads are at and what we can do to fix that. So I apologize that we can't give you a concrete plan, but we will be working towards that.
And with SGA exec, within our actual SGA executive cabinet right now, they are planning on working directly with the senators to make sure we're increasing the training, such education on Title IX and such things like that. So it's really, like we said before, maintaining that communication with people in these positions to make sure that as Amplify, we are doing everything we can to make sure that people in our community are up to date with what's going on.
And can someone go more in depth as to what Title IX is, just briefly, so to make sure that everyone understands what we're talking about right now?
Yes, so basically Title IX is like no one should be excluded on the basis of sex from any space. So basically, like if we are the Amplify movement, we shouldn't turn down a transgender student or like if y'all understand. I don't know if I stated it right, but I believe that's pretty much what it is. So on the basis of sex, nobody should be discriminated against or excluded.
Would anyone else like to add to that, or? All right. Another quick follow-up. Can we address previous actions of our executive board and whether or not they reflect on our current executive board, and kind of go more in depth as to what we're doing to move forward?
Christian, can you repeat the question because your internet is going out and I don't understand the question. Maybe you can rephrase it. I don't understand who. Yeah.
So, how, based off the actions of previous executive board members, how will we be moving forward from that, and what we'll be working on internally? If we could go more in depth in that, to make sure that we are serving the student body.
If possible, can the person who posed that question send what actions specifically? Because I'm not sure, like, what actions do they mean?
I
Just
guess,
in general.
oh yeah, so I guess I can kind of touch on that. We talked about it a little previously, but kind of reiterating that, you know, the people that transitioned us, these group of leaders that transitioned us into these positions, you know, everybody who has worked with Amplify previously, we're extremely grateful for the opportunity they've given us to be able to sit here before you guys today and work through this next upcoming year. And at the same time, like as a strong leader, as I said before, being adaptive. So being able for each individual on our new exec board to be able to learn from the past and also work forward and implement things that we wanted to bring to these positions personally. You know, through this process of creating an exec board, we each had our own ideas, and if that is, you know, implementing a new way of running meetings, which I'm sure the exec board knows that I love to be organized, if it's changing things like that, but also learning from things that's happened in the past and moving forward with that. So it's making sure that this new exec board is setting the precedent on how we want this next upcoming year to look like, and how we want to be role models for everyone in Amplify moving forward with that. But also, you know, taking advice from people come before us, I guess, if you're talking about the transitions again, but also paving the way as a brand new exec board.
If I could comment also as well. I was never directly involved with the past exec board, and I'm sure not a lot of us on the current exec board were. But I don't feel comfortable speaking about the actions of others while they are not in the room or not near me, or it has nothing to do with me. That's just not the person I am. However, if there are concerns about how the e-board has treated others, or how we will treat others going forward, or you know, any issues with the e-board, I'm definitely open to hearing it. Madison is definitely open to hearing it. Bambi's definitely open to hearing it. So as college students, as human beings, we all learn from mistakes. And if there were mistakes made in with the executive board, I'm sure Bambi would love to teach us about them. We'll learn about them. We will see the mistakes that have been made, and we will fix them, because it's unacceptable to have an e-board that doesn't grow and learn from their mistakes. Nobody is perfect. We're not perfect. We listen and understand, and we're trying here. We really want to build a better future for FSU, and it doesn't help to dwell on the past. It's time to look towards the future and how we can change how we campaign and how we deal with campaigns in the future. You know, that takes a lot of time and effort and talking and discussion and dialogue. And with time, we will get to a point where we will right those wrongs and learn from our mistakes.
Right. You know, and everybody on this Zoom call, you guys have taken time out of your Monday to, you know, come here, and that's because you want to see FSU be the best place it can be, right? So we're all on this phone call, on this Zoom call today, because we want to lead FSU for a better tomorrow. So it's really just coming together, working towards a better future, and making sure that, you know, we're respecting all students within that. And that starts with our with internally, and being able to expand upon it externally.
And we have a few follow-ups surrounding this topic. So does Amplify plan on focusing or facilitating dialogue and education surrounding topics such as Title IX, victim advocacy, awareness of systemic racism, trans rights, or colorism within different communities? Anyone in the panel could address that question, yes.
Of course. Even myself, I honestly do not know a lot about Title IX, and I really like to learn. I myself, you know, learn a lot by reading more and listening to other people. So I hope that we can collaborate with a lot of the entities on campus, as well, Green Dot, for example, or the University Counseling Center, or any entity on campus that we can partner with or work with, I'd really like to have maybe a speaker facilitated discussion or something, someone that is very, a professional on it, because I really don't feel comfortable us having a discussion or a platform to speak from if we don't have a professional there to speak with us, right? So it doesn't make sense for us or myself to facilitate this discussion if I don't know much about it. I'd really like to learn. So I'm sure Madison and the rest of the board would be open to creating events that we bring in a professional, someone that really knows what they're talking about when it comes to Title IX and all the issues that are associated with it. Because those issues affect FSU students, a lot of FSU students here on campus, not here on campus, but on campus in Tallahassee. But yeah, if anybody else would like to continue, that was just my thoughts.
I'm just gonna say one thing. I've been to a Title IX training with my fraternity. So FSU has I believe it's with the No More FSU, if I'm not mistaken. The director, she goes to different organizations and she talks and she trains people on Title IX. So I believe that would be something we can implement within our one of our programs to educate students on this matter.
Mm-hmm. And kind of how Alex mentioned about having a professional come in. So we have been working internally with Exec to plan these programming events where we do have a speaker series, if that's virtual, or hopefully we'll be able to meet as a family in person soon. But making sure that we not only advertise the resources that FSU has internally, but also being a resource, Amplify being a resource in of itself. So if that's getting creative, finding some people who this is their expertise in this these positions and these training sessions, or with things going on in our country and community right now, bringing them in, having a call to action, having educational workshops, being that resource, not only highlighting the ones that FSU already has, but also creating those and being able to express those and educate members of Amplify as
well. If Carlos could raise his hand.
Yeah, sorry. Hi there. Just touching on Title IX, it's something that's really personal to me. And sorry, I'm Carlos, he, him, his. I'm part of I'm the deputy campaign manager with the Amplify Movement. And Title IX is something that is changing really rapidly right now. And FSU is still trying to respond to this. Title IX has changed in a way where it's caused a lot of people hurt and unsettled feelings because we don't know where it's going to be. It puts a lot of blame and a lot of pressure on victims. And so really what we have to do as Amplify is try and talk to more people and try to understand what these changes are. Because right now FSU doesn't even know what these changes are going to look like. Title IX is something that a lot of students still have to go through the process. That's very difficult. And through SGA and we can start these conversations to understand and push that information out to other students. But right now, Title IX it's a little scary because we don't know what it's going to look like. And a lot of rights that protected survivors of sexual abuse or sexual harassment don't know what's going to look like that once campus reopens in fall, or what it's going to look like. But that's a conversation that administration is having currently. And I think as Amplify Exec, we are going to have that conversation as well as how we can go about learning these processes and being advocates for all of our FSU constituents.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you. And we just have one more quick question from the audience. So can Madison address how we will be moving forward on ensuring that senators actively represent the student body and actively work towards amplifying the voices of their communities?
Yes. Before we go into that, Tazzy actually wanted to jump on real quick, and I know she has a meeting at 6. So if we could go ahead and let her talk real quick, and then I'll go answer the question from there, if that's okay. Christian.
Yes, of course. Tazzy, could you raise your hand quickly? Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good evening, you all. I hope that you guys were able to engage in a very necessary and crucial conversation today. I want to come here and extend my heart to all of you all because a lot of things are going on in our community as we lost one of our organizers recently, and we want to make sure that we are highlighting that in the midst of all the things that are going on campus and also in the Tallahassee community. So I wanted to take a second. I have a call at 6 o'clock in regards to preparation for the remembrance of her. So I wanted to take a second in order to say her name, Toyin, and let you guys know that we are organizing a vigil on her behalf. And I really hope that you guys extend this to your networks, as we need everyone included in this conversation, all of our Seminole family from areas, all aspects of campus. So that being said, I'm going to drop the flyer into the into the chat box. And if you all have any questions, reach out to me. If you guys need anything, reach out to me. I'm always here for everybody. And I just want to remind you all to continue having these conversations and dialogues in love and in the communities that look like you and don't look like you, because it's very essential for us to be having these dialogues right now, but also showing up when we need to show up, and being vigilant in that manner. So outside of this town hall with Amplify, how are we continuing those conversations in every space? And if you would like to outreach to the people on this call to enter different spaces that aren't traditionally represented or highlighted, it is our duty to do that, right? So we all represent our own communities, and we know how crucial it is for our communities to have not only a seat at the table, but understand the importance of talking about these things and going further into it. I'm not going to go into a whole hoopla, but you all know my love and passion for this movement, and it has been here ever since the start of this movement. And it's not shattering or not going anywhere, because we recognize in the need right now more than ever, the critical dialogue that we need to have about what moving forward looks like. We're going to say this now, we're going to say this moving forward. We are not perfect as human beings, as students, as student leaders, and we need to make sure that we're checking ourselves when we need to check ourselves in order to move forward. And the foundations of what is offered, not only in this space, will continue to be offered within the movement. And I hope you guys recognize the need of having your voice at the table, and creating spaces for other people to be at the table, not only for representation, for critical changes to happen in our institution, and what that looks like. Like I said, I don't want to go on a soapbox right now, but I'm going to drop that information in there. And I really, really, really want to extend my love and compassion for all of you guys, and continuing having these conversations and continuing the work that's happening in the background. If you need anything, I'm always here for you. Much love.
Thank you, Tazi.
Thank you for letting Tazi jump in there real quick. I just knew she had a meeting, so I wanted to make sure she had an opportunity to speak. Cushion, so the question was, how would we be making sure that these elected SGA positions continue amplifying communities within their position?
Yeah, and that they continue to truly hear them and understand their concerns.
Okay. So we've kind of hit on this a little bit, but this is one thing, a conversation that has come up a ton within our Amplify Exec board. How are we not only going to get these students elected, but how are we going to continue to make sure they are doing their due diligence within their position to amplify these communities? So first hitting on that is to make sure that these communities that we're amplifying, they have a seat at the table in exec. It's making sure that the people we slate represent the student body, making sure that people from all backgrounds are present within Amplify and within these positions, because different people from all backgrounds coming together, that's what will represent Florida State University. And so it's making sure that we set up the standards that we are going to want for each slated candidate, and that's making sure we follow through with making sure they're educating themselves on how they can amplify, and also finding proactive ways. I know that's kind of a blanket statement right now, but Amplify Exec is working on ways to actually make sure we are enforcing that and holding each other accountable, and also having concrete ideas moving forward of how Amplify members in their elected positions can actually amplify these communities. So not only knowing how to, but also knowing who to amplify. So it's really just maintaining that conversation with elective SGA candidates. So, if that's Jalen, who's our candidate coordinator, who's amazing, will be, taking point on maintaining that communication. So once they're elected, it doesn't stop. We're continuing to meet up with these elected SGA candidates and making sure that they're following through with what we learned through their application and through their interviews, and just monitoring that moving forward.